of them wasn't. He was actually, guess what? Main gaining, because he put on muscle and dropped body fat at the same time. Don't you just love that? What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're looking at a video from Jeff Nippard where he did an experiment that lasted 365 days and was trying to see if him, as a very advanced trainer, can still make gains. So we're going to be watching it today. I've already watched the video, but I'm going to be reacting to it. So let's get right into it.
That means I'm going to run the most science-based, optimized plan and track every single set of every workout. No skipped workouts, no lazy sets, no exceptions. I'm also going to track every single calorie I eat every day for a year straight. And in this video, I'll show you my full results.
So for me, anyway, I'm a big advocate to training to failure. For advanced lifters anyway, even intermediate lifters to some extent. And Jeff definitely has his fair share of him, you know, going into 1 to 3 RIR and stuff like that. So he's kind of running this experiment where he's going to try and optimize everything. And on the last set of every exercise, he's taking it right to failure, which is what I preach. I think you should definitely take the last set on any exercise to failure, and I go even a little bit beyond that. I like to take every set to failure because, for me anyway, you know, you could be leaving some in the tank psychologically. If you go to violence and war level, you may be able to crank out 1 or 2 extra. So if you just go to failure normally, then you're actually leaving 1 to 2, and nice camera lag, by the way. You're actually leaving then 1 to 2 in the tank. So I always like to go to failure, and I also find it more fun. But Jeff doesn't really. So for this year, he's really going to push himself.
First up, we use this DEXA machine to measure our starting body fat percentage and lean mass. I was 15.8% body fat. That was a bit higher than I expected. I thought I'd be closer to 13 or 14%. But hey, maybe I'll get that down by the end.
Yeah, so I just want to bring this up, and Jeff also acknowledges this in the video, but the DEXA scan, people think it's the Holy Grail. It's not. It's not. It can be shown to be inaccurate like crazy. You can trick the test into thinking you put on a shit ton of muscle by eating more carbs, drinking more water, and all that kinds of stuff, because he goes on about in the video saying that lean mass, you know, it doesn't just account for muscle tissue per se, it's also your water rate, water weight, glycogen, and all that kinds of stuff. So you can literally trick the test into thinking you gained a shit ton of muscle or you lost it. So he's doing the best he can with the equipment he has. Obviously, the MRI is the only one that's 110% accuracy, but hey, what are you gonna do?
By week 3, we were cruising. The initial soreness from starting a new program had settled down, and before we knew it, it was time for our first check-in. Moment of truth. I'm a little nervous. After just 1 month of training, Brad is already up 12.7 pounds of lean mass.
Yeah, so remember when I said the DEXA scan can cause some errors and stuff like that? Well, there you go. 1 month, I believe it was 1 month, he said 12 pounds of lean mass. Yeah, no. That's definitely because he started taking creatine and, you know, started training. He's going to be holding on to more water, so it's water in the muscle, but he did not put on 12 pounds of lean tissue. And I'm going to spoil it for you right now. At the end of the video or whatever, he's not going to gain that much more. Shocker, it's because he didn't actually put on 12 pounds of lean tissue right at the start, because the DEXA scan is not 100% accurate.
Down to 33.4%. And the ultrasound showed he gained 14 millimeters on his quads and 1 millimeter on his biceps. That's in 1 month.
Bruh. Nicely done, dude.
Believe it or not, I'm also up just over 3 pounds of lean mass. Unlike Brad, I did gain a little fat. My body fat went from 15.8% up to 16.7%. So with that check-in as a massive motivator, Brad and I got back to work. And in 5 months, we'll finish our bulking phase and do another check-in. 9-month mark, we'll do a third check-in. This will be the end of our recomp phase, where we'll try to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. Most people say that's impossible for advanced lifters, but I want to see for myself. Then after 12 months, we'll do our final update. This will be the end of our cut phase. I want to get back down to my starting body weight to see if I'll actually keep the muscle that I gained during my bulk, or if I just lose it all again and look exactly the same as before, same calories and macros. 3,000 calories, 150 grams of protein, 410 grams of carbs, and 85 grams of fat per day.
Okay, so what they're doing is they're going to be doing a phase of bulking, recomping, and then cutting. Now, here's the thing. So they're brothers or whatever, so they have very similar genetics. Jeff and his brother who are doing this experiment. His brother obviously hasn't trained a day in his life before this. Or maybe he has, but like, you know what I mean. And they're bulking on 3,000 calories. The only thing about that is we're going to watch later in the video. How do we know that what their maintenances are, both of them? It's probably not the same. So for both of them to be at 3,000 calories, maybe Jeff is eating a lot more over maintenance, whereas his brother isn't. And we're gonna find out real soon that was most likely the case.
Here's the list of supplements that we're both taking, if you want to pause and read.
What the hell was Greg's Turk Builder in GO2 Max?
Just look what it did to the Blue Lobsters. Original Blue Lobster, Blue Lobster on Turk.
Just saying.
Things for me was balancing the training I needed to shoot for videos and balancing my own actual off-camera training. A few of the tier list videos took me 7 or 8 hours to film with all those exercises, and then I'd still have to actually train after.
Yeah, I know that's definitely, even someone like me, where I don't have, sometimes I'm filming or whatever, and then I don't have the motivation to train afterwards. So that's kind of what Jeff is experiencing here, and he obviously, for the experiment or whatever, he wants to give it his 100% all. So even after doing all that, he's still going to hit his workout in. Now, what I notice for me anyway is I always like to do my workout first, and then I'll do all this extra filming stuff after. As I'm, saying this right now, I worked out earlier in the day, and now I'm coming home to do this. Now, I know a lot of you or whatever, you have work and you work from 9 to 5 or whatever like that, so you can't really do that, and you gotta really dig and find the motivation to, come home after work and get your ass in the gym and train freaking legs. But that, again, that's a part of not so much having motivation, but also having discipline. You got to be disciplined to know, hey, I'm not really feeling it today. And if you're really not feeling it, just take a deload day. That's okay too, but try and give it your 100%.
But I was starting to get sick, and my body was definitely overworking. I'm actually not feeling too well today, and so this is going to be the first day that I skip a workout that I have scheduled.
So what I like to do is if I'm sick or I don't feel good or whatever, and I have a workout plan, what I'll basically do is if I'm head sick, like up here, and as long as I don't have a fever, like if I have a cough or a stuffy nose, and I would still go to the gym. But if you literally feel like dog shit and if you have a fever, definitely take it off. Don't go to the gym, because you're gonna feel like dog shit, and that just sucks. Your weights are gonna be in the toilet, gonna be really hard to recover. When you're sick, when you're really sick, definitely get rest. Maybe some light cardio if you're going to do anything, but definitely not a full weight training session. Again, if it's just like a really small cold or something like that, like a stuffy nose and a cough, then maybe you could. But if you got a fever, stomach ache, shit like that, definitely take that off. When you're better, you can go train harder than last time again.
Drive. Come on, Brad, come on, you can do it.
That was great. That was good.
So they're pushing very hard, and his brother, obviously a beginner, so in order to make gains, he doesn't have to push that hard. But for the sake of the study and to try and eliminate as many variables as possible, they are pushing. He is pushing that hard. But if you are a beginner in the gym, just know you don't have to push that hard. Later down the road, yes, you definitely do. But as a beginner, you can take it easy.
At the end of the 6-month bulk, Brad is up 13 pounds of lean mass, and his body fat percentage is down 1.2%. He went from 36.2% at the beginning to 35.0% now.
Okay, so here's the thing. By definition, if you are not gaining body fat, you're not bulking. What he actually did there was body recomposition. He lost some fat and he put on, his body fat percentage went down and he put on muscle. So he wasn't actually bulking, even though they were both eating 3,000 calories. For him, that wasn't a bulk. Clearly it wasn't, because he didn't gain fat. He didn't gain body fat. He literally did the recomping phase before they were supposed to do the recomping phase. So that's just it. 3,000 calories for Jeff and him. One, we're going to see right now, Jeff was definitely in a bulk, whereas his brother, not so much.
I added 4.5 pounds of lean mass. The thing was, I also gained, ready for this, 11 pounds of fat. That's a bit much. It means my body fat went from 15% at the beginning to just over 20% now. I'm kind of excited to cut down and see how much muscle I retain.
So Jeff, definitely in a bulk, putting on a total of around 15 pounds, 4 of it being muscle according to the DEXA scan, and 11 being fat. So Jeff was bulking, whereas his brother was recomping, which means he wasn't bulking. So just because they were both eating 3,000 calories doesn't mean that one is going to be on a cut or on a bulk. Some different people require different amounts of calories, and I presume the fact that he was already obese, you know, whenever he moves or whatever, he may weigh more than Jeff, which means he burns more calories when he goes for a walk and stuff like that. So by both of them eating 3,000 calories, one of them was clearly bulking, whereas one of them wasn't. He was actually, guess what? Main gaining, because he put on muscle and dropped body fat at the same time. Don't you just love that?
But let's put this in context. If we pretend this chicken breast is my lean mass and this pile of lard is my fat mass, this is what I put on my body during the bulk. Again, not all my lean mass is pure muscle tissue, some of it is water. But yes, I did put on 4.5 pounds of lean mass. But I also put on this big pile of fat. So now the real question is, what will happen if I lose all this extra fat?
Here's another thing with muscle and fat. One, muscle is a lot more dense than fat. So 1 pound of muscle is a lot more compact and smaller compared to 1 pound of fat. So yes, he did put on 4.5 pounds of muscle, but if you compare 4.5 pounds of muscle to 4.5 pounds of fat, the fat is going to take up a lot more volume because it's less dense. So yes, bulking works. You're going to put on some muscle, but you're also going to put on a shit ton of fat. So
Maintaining my weight at around 180 pounds, and I felt like my physique was looking a bit sharper. The month of September flew by, and it was time for our post-recomp check-in. Turns out, I actually lost 0.8 pounds of lean mass since our last check-in. That's within the DEXA's margin of error, but it's still a bit disappointing. It's also kind of what I expected. At my level of advancement, I think you really need at least a slight caloric surplus to keep muscle growth moving. Maintenance calories probably just won't cut it. I guess it's also possible that switching to the full body split and our time in Japan threw me off a bit. On the upside, I did lose 0.5 pound of fat, So my body fat percentage dropped ever so slightly. Brad's results were a bit better. He lost 3.5 pounds of fat, and this got his body fat percentage down to 33.8%. And that's despite not actually doing a fat loss phase yet. He did lose 0.7 pounds of lean mass since the last check-in, but that's also within the margin of error.
Like he says, margin of error from the DEXA scan, so it could have been maybe he wasn't as hydrated, didn't have as many carbs. Obviously, they lowered the calories by a slight amount, so maybe his muscle glycogen was a little bit more depleted. All these things could have had an impact. Probably it's not really statistically massive where you can conclude, okay, you definitely lost, because, again, the DEXA scan is not 100% accurate.
2, 1.
Oh, hold on. No, hold on. I felt something really weird in my knee. And I injured my knee. Partially torn tendon. So that sucks. I'm leaving this recomp phase not only having gained 0 muscle in the last 3 months, but with a freshly injured knee.
That's obviously another factor that's gonna skew the results a little bit more. Injuries suck. You got to do a lot of recomp. I know what it's like. I hurt my shoulder before. It freaking sucks. You can't train as hard as you want, and the quads are literally the biggest muscle in the body, so if you can't train them the hardest, I mean, especially, and now he's going to be going on a cut, and he can't train the biggest muscle in his body properly. I mean, what are you going to do? He's bound to lose a little bit of muscle. But the great thing is if you lose a little bit of muscle due to an injury, there's something called muscle memory. So if you're like out of the gym for 3 months or whatever, let's say you can't train your legs, if you keep training them hard after, you should gain all that back within like another 3 months. So if you do get an injury, I know it sucks. I've experienced it before. Literally some of the worst times of my life, because all you just want to do is go and train hard and you can't. But it's something that's inevitable.
For my own recovery, I started stopping about 1 rep shy of failure on compound lifts. That's just because I really didn't want an upper body injury to deal with too.
And he stopped going to failure on the big compound lifts. Guy doesn't want to get injured. I mean, what are you going to do? Again, that could change the results a little bit, but obviously they're trying to do it as optimal as they can. Shit happens. That's a part of training, and he's doing his best, doing his rehab, but obviously the results at the end are definitely going to be skewed a little bit because of that mishap.
I think I'm going to extend it until March, under the assumption that we're both giving it 100%. If you're in, I'm in.
Yeah, man, 100%.
So we locked back in for another 2 months, and then it was time for the final check-in.
In order for them to try and be as accurate as possible, they wanted to get down to the same weight in order to see if, you know, Jeff and his brother lost fat and built muscle in replacement. So they extended it a little bit longer. I'm like the idea that they didn't go on a crash diet, because a crash diet would totally result in a shit ton of muscle loss. Not the best way to do it. It's definitely better to take your time. Slow and steady wins the race. If you are trying to do your own fat loss phase, the smaller the calorie deficit, the better. The more likely you're going to keep the weight off in the long term, because if you crash diet, most likely going to rebound and you're going to gain it all back.
Let's start with Brad's final results. From the start of the experiment to now, he's up 10 pounds of lean mass and down, get this, 10 pounds of fat mass.
Amazing progress in 1 year, up 9 pounds of muscle and down quite a bit of body fat. Great transformation so far. Obviously, he's still got some ways to go. He's still 29% body fat, and I would say around the 10 to 20% body fat range is going to be ideal and healthy for most males. And then I would go around 20 to 30% for females for the optimal health. So great on his brother. Guy's doing amazing. Keep it up. Slowly keep cutting. Trim that body fat off. And soon, guy's going to look freaking fantastic.
Okay, so from the beginning of the experiment to the end of the experiment, at the exact same body weight, I gained 2 2.7 pounds of lean mass. That may not sound like much to some of you, but think about it. This is what the lean mass I added would look like if it were ribeye steaks. And at just under 5'5", adding that much tissue across my body is gonna make a visual difference. I definitely see the biggest difference in my chest and my back, but I see some gains in my shoulders and hamstrings too. So at the end of my bulk, I was up 4.5 pounds of lean mass, and now I'm still up 2.7 pounds of lean mass. So yes, I did retain most of those gains while cutting down. I kept more than half the lean mass that I put on, which I think is pretty solid. I'm also leaner now. I started the experiment at 15.8% body fat, and now I'm down to 14.5% body fat.
And the conclusion is Jeff still has some gains on the table. Gained 2.7 pounds of muscle, which at his level of, training experience is freaking amazing. And he also lost body fat. I can tell by the photos and everything, definitely looks leaner. So good on you, Jeff. You pushed yourself, you pushed to failure, and you made some gains. So amazing.
Also, for the sake of scientific transparency, we also took BIA, or bioelectrical impedance measurements, throughout the study. This is the type of device you'll often see in commercial gyms. It says that I lost 1 pound of lean mass.
Yeah, okay, those machines are freaking dog shit. Literally way worse than the DEXA. The DEXA is already pretty, you can already trick it. So yeah, he gained 2.7 pounds, but, it might be up or down a little bit. You don't really know. It's a good estimate, I would say, but those freaking machines where you stand on it and shit, they don't know jag diddly squat. It's literally better to use your freaking eyeball. Those machines have such inaccuracies. It's crazy. They are literally dog shit. If you can be like Chris Bumstead shredded and it's like, hey, you're 10% body fat, it's just so wrong.
As for the so-called natural ceiling, I still do think it theoretically exists, at least on paper. If you could just keep building muscle indefinitely, anyone still lifting in their 70s or 80s would be the biggest bodybuilders alive. But I think I did show that you can kind of push your natural ceiling up with optimized training and diet. At the very least, I think I showed that's possible.
No, you can't push your natural ceiling up. You can just reach it by doing everything that's optimal. You can't bring it up. Your natural ceiling is what you were given when you were born. That's your genetics. Now you can only reach that by doing all this optimized shit, training for a really long time, and so on. So it's not that he brought the natural ceiling of what he could achieve with his genetics up, it's that he got a little bit closer to it. Alright, but that's pretty much Jeff's video. So guy gained some muscle, Jeff got bigger, he's looking better, I would say, too, from the photos. A little bit leaner, a little bit bigger, more fullness, all that kind of stuff. And it shows the power of training to failure and pushing yourself really hard as an advanced trainer. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.